Welcome everybody to Coffee Connection Live. We're so happy you're here today. It feels like it's been a minute since we've done Coffee Connection Live, but I think that's just the nature of the beast these days. We're so happy you're here and we'd love to know where everybody's joining us from. So if you can, and if you're comfortable doing so, please share in the chat box where you're joining us from. And if you'd like to make connections with other military spouses joining today, feel free to include your LinkedIn profile and we can make some further connections there. I see somebody's joining us from Stuttgart, Germany, Vicenza. Wow, I love that we're global today. I'm joining you all from Northern Louisiana in our brand new home. We've just finished a PCS and I'm super happy to be here with you today. I'm extra excited to welcome our special guest today, Kelly Miyahara. As Danielle said, she has a title that's longer than I could share. So I'm gonna pass it over to Kelly and say, welcome, Kelly. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Liz. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here today. It's an honor actually to be here with you guys at the USO. Gosh, where do I start? Yes, I'm kind of all over the place. I've got lots of things. But I do want to start with, the reason I got into broadcast and entertainment was because I got chosen from a nationwide search who does that to be on the game show Jeopardy, which I was there for 14 seasons as part of the Clue Crew. And that's how I got to start in my television career. And ironically, that's also how the USO came into my life. So today is actually Alex Trebek's birthday. May he rest in peace. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I do know that he is proudly watching over us because he is the person who introduced the USO into my life. I had the opportunity to go on 2 USO tours with him. It's just been such a pleasure and an honor because I think that entertainment jobs, you can be in front of the camera doing something great, but when you're doing something that really means something, it is just so rewarding. And I love that about my job, that I've always been to be able to be in the entertainment industry in a meaningful way. And I continue to do so today. And that is just awesome because I get to be a host of the USO also, which is so cool. But yes, I'm a producer now. I'm working on some documentary films, again, about some important issues. We can talk about that. It relates to my breast cancer story. In addition to that, yes, as a triathlete, I became an Ironman. I was raising money for Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. I figured, I can't not do a triathlon or try to do a triathlon for charity, right? And then I got sucked in, guys. I mean, it started out as a little try and it got bigger and bigger and bigger until I finished my triathlon major career on the world stage in Kona, which was pretty incredible. We did it in memory of a teammate that we lost. So yeah, I've done a lot in my life and all crazy things. And I've got to say my life mantra has become anything is possible because I'm learning every day that is true somehow or another.
I love that. I love anything is possible. I feel like you should have t-shirts made.
Yes.
And those would be huge and we would all sport them. I'm so impressed and I have so many questions, Kelly. Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Bay Area in California, so East Bay of San Francisco. I was there until I was 16. I moved back east actually and lived outside Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. My dad is part of the military. He is also retired. He was working in the government, but retired military. He was in the military as well. And so that's why we were in D.C. And then I went to Seattle where my parents are from. My parents, I grew up in Seattle. So I ended up going to school in Seattle and being around all my family. And although I'm not from there, I do feel like it's sort of my home away from home as well. And I made it back to California shortly before becoming a part of the Jeopardy team. And I've been there ever since. So I've been here, 16, 17 years now.
That's amazing. Wow. You like East Coast, West Coast,
Yes.
everything in between.
I even had to sit in Paris. I went back to Paris and I taught English abroad. It was awesome. But yes, I love travel. I think this is where my passion for travel started was, kind of moving around. And I love meeting people and the culture is always different. When I moved you guys will love this. When I moved to the East Coast, when I met all my friends in Virginia, they're like, you're from California. That's so cool. So did you go to the beach every day at lunch? I was like, no, but is that what you guys think? That's so cool. It was like, it's funny because all my friends in California asked me if I was going to go live on a farm. And I was like, we need to get out more people, like the perspective of the difference of lifestyle. I was like, no, on both accounts, guys. It was just really funny.
It's so amazing how we have such like preset notions, be they good or bad, about places we've never lived or never been.
Totally. Absolutely.
And I think we can all relate to the travel bug. I mean, I know most military spouses, especially the ones who are overseas right now joining us, we all get it. Like once you start to travel and see the world, you can't stop and it's hard to sit still. And if the last year and a half has taught us anything, it's that we all need to have patience and hope that eventually we'll be able to stop sitting still and get out and travel again.
Yes.
You mentioned that you did a couple USO tours while you worked for Jeopardy. Do you have any favorite memories or anything that stands out from when you did those?
So many. So Liz, my first USO tour was with Alex, going to Japan, and I am of Japanese descent, but I had never had the opportunity to travel to the country. So it was extra special for me to get to go. It was almost a month. It was over 3 weeks trip because we did the USO tour. After that, I stayed and we filmed clues and we traveled around the country. So it was such an incredible experience on so many levels. Also, as you may know, Jeopardy is a Sony Pictures television show, and Sony's parent company is in Japan. So we also visited Sony as well. It was incredible. And to spend that time, it was one of my first trips really traveling with Alex and getting to know him more on a personal level. But so much fun. I will tell you what, he just absolutely glowed when we went on USO tours. He was in his element. He absolutely loved, respected the military so much. And that was so contagious. And I learned so much by being there. It was so incredible. I remember I think we were in Kadena in Okinawa. And I remember meeting these men and women who were flying these incredible aircraft, right? Yet they were so young, 19, 20, in their early 20s. And I thought, wow, what was I doing when I was their age? Do you know what I mean? And look what they're doing. They were such remarkable human beings. And it was so humbling to meet these people that are serving our country and, making sacrifice and being there. And I was just blown away. It truly changed my life. And I'm so ever grateful for that. And then my second USO tour was in Germany and Italy. Again, it was just so humbling each time we went to meet these men and women who were serving our country. And, so many of them were excited to meet us, but I'll tell you what, I think I was more excited. I know Alex was definitely more excited to meet them than they were. It was a true honor for sure. I'll never forget it.
That's so cool. And it's really interesting to hear that perspective because I've been on the receiving end of those USO tours as a military spouse, and you're so awestruck and you're so dumbfounded to meet these people that you've sort of looked up to as a celebrity for your whole life. And then they turn around, they're like, no, it's our pleasure to meet you. And you're like, what? We're just us and you guys are just you. That's a really neat perspective. I'm really glad to hear that it was so rewarding for all of you and especially for you. So how did you then take that? And now you're our newest USO MVP hostess.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Oh my, you're going to love this, Liz. It's the craziest serendipitous story. So a week before my son was born, which also ironically happened to be the same week as Alex Trebek's death, a friend of mine called me, and she is a director and producer. And she said, listen, Kelly, I'm working on this project. And I didn't know what it was at the time. She said, I need someone I can trust. I know it's last minute. She goes, listen, I know you've probably never run teleprompter before, but I know you've read teleprompter before. So you could figure out, you're smart, right? Could you please do this for me? And I was like, of course. She goes, I know it's last minute. I know you're pregnant. I promise you'll be sitting. So I was like, no, anything for you. No problem. It'd be so fun. I've been wanting to see her at work and do this thing. Well, it turns out it was a USO holiday special with Idina Menzel, who I'm a big fan of as well. And I thought, well, sure, I could do it. I just hope I don't screw this up. But then I found out it was the USO and I'm like, it's the USO. Of course I'm going to be a part of this. I haven't worked with the USO since I went on tour with Alex. So fast forward to the end of that week. I went in, I figured it out, Liz. We did it with no major hiccups. It was okay. We had a great time. I mean, it was a lot. I learned so much that day. But I remember sitting there, Liz, watching on stage. Chris Jacobs, who was one of the USO hosts, came out and he started interviewing Idina. And I legitimately sat there, Liz, and I was watching. And I was running teleprompter for them, mind you, but my mind was going. And I thought, how do I get that job? That is awesome. I love it. And Idina didn't know that I was a host. She thought I was her teleprompter gal at the time, right? But I thought one of these days I want to be on that stage too, and I want to be hosting for the USO. How cool is that? And about a week later, when I sent in my invoice, I was notified, please go ahead and send your invoice directly to the USO. I did that. Well, it turns out it was to a woman named Brooke, who I traveled with on USO tour with Jeopardy. And she wrote me back and said, is this the same Kelly, like Kelly Miyahara that I know? And I was blown away. And so from then on, she had written to me and said, would you be interested? I may have some opportunities for hosting in the future with the USO. And I was like, are you kidding me? Of course. And, a week later, I talked to Alex Trebek's daughter, and she said, you know what, Kelly, I can't help but think that this is my dad looking down at you. And just, he's so proud of me. And I know how much he loved you. And this is his way of, taking care of you and reconnecting you. And because I can't help but, I can never separate the connection between Alex and the USO, because he's the one who brought it into my life. And so it's ironic that today's his birthday, that we could do this on his birthday. And yeah, it makes me happy. And I believe in serendipity, and I just think this was meant to be. So I'm really grateful. So thank you again.
Oh my gosh. And now I have goosebumps,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm choking back tears, because that's just so much serendipity, so much all the things. That's amazing. Wow, what a story. And you mentioned that you just had a little boy. So tell us, how many kids do you have? What's motherhood been like, especially in the last year and a half? I mean, what's life like for you these days?
Yeah, so I'm a mom of two. I'm a boy mom of two. My littlest is 8 months old. My oldest is 4.5. It is busy, Liz, but it's wonderful. I mean, I think the most challenging, most rewarding job that I've ever done, and I think more than full-time, maybe more like overtime, because it's 24/7, is being a mom. But I'm so grateful for it. And it's been crazy. So I found out I was pregnant like just a few weeks into the pandemic. I started not feeling well, and my husband and I had planned for it. And it kind of goes back to my cancer story, as well as the timing of my pregnancy. But we got pregnant pretty quickly. We were super fortunate, but I think I physically got pregnant, like literally like at shutdown, right around that time. I found out maybe a month or two later, when I was like, oh, I don't feel good. And I knew what was going on, right? So the whole pandemic, I'm pregnant, working from home. So many of my friends, my colleagues, nobody saw me pregnant, Liz. It's crazy. Like, I'm coming out of this and I'm like, hey, I've got a baby, everybody. It was just such a bizarre thing, right? And now he's 8 months old. Can you believe it? And we're still working on getting him to meet everyone. It's been, a process. But such a crazy thing. My son finally started going back to school in May of this year. He was out of school for a year, which is crazy. I don't know how we did that, working from home and kids at home.
Honestly, that was my next question.
That was the face of, I know what you're feeling, sister, right? Yeah, it was crazy. But I'll tell you what, when he went back to school, it was kind of hard. Like, I'm used to seeing, them at home all day, but he's loving it, which makes me so happy. There have been no cases of anything crazy at his school, which has been great. And I actually think the masks are helping them from getting runny noses in general, because it used to be like perma runny nose at school, right? Permanent. But he hasn't had one yet. So fingers crossed that it's all a good thing. But
I know they're little test tubes of germs, especially at the beginning of the school year. And same thing. I mean, we just moved here from Florida. So we spent the pandemic in Florida, and the kids were able to go back to school for all of the last school year. But it was like the most gut-wrenching decision to make, whether we could keep them home or send them back. And I'm very fortunate that I work from home, but my husband does not. And I knew that I couldn't work full-time and educate them and oversee. I mean, they're first and third grade.
Yeah,
They're about to be. They were kindergarten and second last year.
So bless your heart, first and third grade.
I couldn't understand how I was supposed to run Zoom lessons and oversee and make sure they were paying attention to that, while also giving full time to my job. So we sent them back to school, and it was like this gut wrenching, like, but what if? And then the craziest thing was they made it through the entire school year, and they didn't mind wearing masks, and they were great. And they didn't get sick. They never had the sniffles. They never had all that stuff that they usually brought home. So maybe there's something to all this hand washing and like,
right.
not sharing germs thing. But I mean, it was not an easy decision at the time. In hindsight, I laughed. I'm like, well, just send them back to school. But really, so many difficult decisions had to be made at that point. And I know now that, this is supposed to be evergreen and it's supposed to live on forever, but we are in the summer of 21 and we're looking at another school year coming up, and it's like, are we about to go back into that again? Oh, parenting is so hard.
I know. I totally relate to all that. And the best thing about it is that we're all in it together. So we can kind of relate to each other. It doesn't necessarily make it easier, but maybe a little bit because we have other people to talk to about it and commiserate or, ask questions. Because I was lost. I didn't know what to do. Should we send him back? Should we not? We were worried about my parents and, the other grandparents and the family, all of that. It's such a strange world that we live in. But I will say that I think we are all becoming stronger, more resilient, and finding a sense of togetherness because of it all, because that's what we've got to do to get through it, right?
Absolutely. I'll take a sip to that of
Yes,
coffee.
cheers to
Coffee.
that.
Cheers to that for
That's
real.
right.
Mm. Okay, so you are not just a USO host. I mean, you've mentioned the triathlete, the whole athleticism thing. You mentioned being a cancer survivor. Can we hear a little bit about that? Would you mind sharing?
No, not at all. So my cancer story actually began with my sister. In the summer of 2017, I distinctly remember her telling me she found a lump, but they think it's nothing. Fast forward, turned out to be cancerous. It was stage 2 breast cancer. Fast forward a little bit further, they had done some genetic testing because she's young. She was in her early 40s. It turns out she had a genetic mutation. And how that works is there are genetic mutations that are carried in certain people that are, hereditary. And we had no reason to believe this mutation belonged, in our family. It's the BRCA2 mutation. And so then the next step was to get my mom and I tested to make sure, maybe we did or did not have it, to see where it came from for her sake. Well, we were batting 1,000 because both my mom and I are both positive too. And of course, somehow my sister felt responsible, but really, I told her thank you because this gave me the opportunity to know that I had it, that I had an increased level of risk to get to certain kinds of cancer, specifically breast cancer, ovarian cancer. There are a few others, but now I had a chance, right? I thought to be preventative. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but 3 months after my sister's diagnosis, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she was in her 70s, had no history of breast cancer. We have no history of breast cancer in my family. The doctors were sure it was going to be my dad's side, maybe because, there's a little bit less of a chance of breast cancer in men. Wasn't the case. So the good news is, fast forward, my mom and my sister have finished their treatments. They are both cancer free and both healthy at this point. And once that happened, I knew I had some decisions to make. I had just had Theo relatively recent. He's my older son. He was still not even 1 year old at the time. I still wanted to have a second baby. It was something we were thinking about, but I wasn't ready at that point. I was still breastfeeding when I found out. So sadly, I was given you got to stop because in order to get properly screened, your breasts have to normalize again. And it takes anywhere from 3 to 6 months to have a proper mammogram or scan. So I had to stop ASAP so that they could, check me out. That next year, I had some decisions to make. I finally made the decision. I was leaving Jeopardy at the end of 2019. I had set up my surgery for January 7th of 2020. So literally just weeks after I left the show, I had a preventative double mastectomy. Well, good thing I did because they found cancer.
Oh my God.
It was just a crazy, crazy thing. I had a clean mammogram in August before, and in January, they found it. I'm so thankful it was stage 0, which technically meant it was still contained, which meant I got to skip over the chemotherapy and the radiation. So somehow I had a hard time coming to terms with becoming a breast cancer patient and survivor, yet not having to do all that other stuff because I've seen my sister go through it. I saw my mom go through it, and I felt somehow like I cheated. Like I didn't really, I don't know, it sounds weird, but deserve to be called a breast cancer survivor because I didn't feel like I did anything. My preventative surgery was the same surgery I would have had to do if I had the diagnosis first. So I just kind of did it in a backwards order. So I'm happy to say I'm now cancer free too. I've had a lot of stuff since then. I won't bore you with all the details, but the good news is once I got through all of my surgeries, my reconstruction, my mastectomies, and all of that, we thankfully got pregnant pretty quickly. And that's why I said my husband and I planned for January of 2020. What year was it? 2020. And here I am now with a baby, and we're free. I have another cancer prevention surgery coming up the end of summer. It's the last one, hopefully. It is to remove my ovaries and my fallopian tubes. As a BRCA2 carrier, I am, at an elevated risk for certain cancers, and those are very, very dangerous. So I'm getting them out. That's why I was lucky enough to have a baby. So in my eyes, things have worked out so beautifully, and I'm so lucky the way things have gone. And so I'm ever thankful. And this whole breast cancer journey has really taught me a lot. I didn't know any of this before. I learned so much, and that is why I thought it was really important. Before I knew I had cancer, I decided that I wanted to start documenting this journey because I didn't know so much, and I felt that it was such a common thing that people don't talk about and people don't know about. So I started producing a film, and I had no idea how this was going to progress, but it's my family's story between my mom, my sister, and I, and the rest of my family going through all of this together. And you go through it with me, basically, learning what hereditary cancer is all about, what you can do to prevent it, how you can, help yourself and protect your family. And I felt that was really important to get out. So we're still working on the film. COVID has slowed things down a little bit. We're back on track again. But I want to share our story because I felt like when I looked into the information, all I found were medical facts. All I found were very cold, hard figures and scary stories that I didn't feel really helped me. So I'm hoping that our story will help someone to make sure they feel like, I'm not alone in this. I can get through this too. And to be able to relate to a human story, I think is really important at times like that. And if you're not a family with a hereditary mutation, that, you'll at least know about it. So if someone comes across this, or, heaven forbid your family has to deal with it in the future, that you have the education and the awareness to know about it. So it's sort of turned into a positive thing. And that's how I like to look at it anyways.
Absolutely. I mean, again, talk about divine intervention. Not the fact that your sister identified it, but that you and your mom were able to be proactive in finding it, and that your story unfolded like it did. I've been watching the chat box. You're inspiring so many people just watching today. It's amazing. I have so many questions. So do you have like a working title for this documentary, or do you know where we'll be able to watch it?
So it's called What We Share. I don't yet. I can't tell you exactly where it'll be yet. So I just met actually with my producers and editors about a month ago, and we're working on piecing things together. We have so much wonderful footage. There were a lot of shoots we had planned that unfortunately got canceled for the pandemic. The events just didn't happen. But I feel like we are going to move forward. We've got things that it was all kind of the cherry on top, the whipped cream on top. I don't think we need it. We've got the real important pieces. And I think we can really, from what I've seen already, it's beautiful. And it's really what I want. I've seen other documentaries on this, and they don't capture the human side of it to me. It's still very medical based and a little bit scary. I really want people to be able to relate and just share a story, whether you know about cancer, whether you've had to deal with it in your life, whether, you have hereditary disposition, any of that, it doesn't matter. We just want to share a story and hopefully touch other people's lives. So we're hoping to have a working cut by the end of the year. So sometime next year, we're hoping to release the film. We will likely, hopefully get involved in some film festivals, but hopefully it will maybe see some bigger screens as well. So I definitely will keep you all posted on my social media. We're creating sites for it and other things. So we are definitely getting the word out there, even if it doesn't make it, a huge impact, maybe in the movie world. Hopefully it'll make a huge impact somewhere in someone's life. Even if we were to save one life, Liz, it will all have been worth it.
Absolutely. So let's throw out your social media handles so everybody can make sure to follow you. Where can we find you?
So I'm on Instagram at Kelly Miyahara, pretty much all social media platforms. If you look up Kelly Miyahara, you'll find me. Actually, you don't even have to know how to spell my whole name. It's just KELLYMIY. And normally I'll pop up like that. I'm not terribly active on Twitter. I am on Facebook, but not as much these days now with Instagram. I even have a TikTok account now, you guys, but guess what? This working mom is still trying to figure out how to work that thing. And I can't say that I have enough extra time to be creating too many videos, but it exists. So it's a start. It's Kelly A. Miyahara on TikTok. But there we have it.
Okay. I was about to ask how you find time for TikTok, because I've never even downloaded it. I see it. I have so much admiration for the people who put together these amazing TikToks, but God bless them, I have no idea how they do it.
I think maybe life before kids, before more working mom life. Like I think it's so fun. Like I love film producing. I love making these little clips. I think it's great. But yeah, there's not a lot of time in the day to make those happen, especially when I'm doing all these other documentary films. Now this is the path. These are passion projects for me that I'm working on right now. So that's my free time
I
right
get it.
now. But hopefully I'll be able to share those. They're just more long term.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So speaking of free time, then you also find time to work out. Can we talk about the triathlons and how that came to be?
Yes. So I grew up playing sports competitively, and I always have loved to challenge. But unfortunately, my later high school years, I got a pretty bad injury to my knee. I've since dislocated my shoulder playing football. I've done a lot to my body. But a friend of mine asked, would you be interested in doing a triathlon? And I said, yes, if it's for charity, yeah, of course, but here's the thing. I can't run anymore. My doctors told me after my knee injuries, no more running for you. So I stopped running. And the third leg of a triathlon is a run. So I said, I will do these triathlons, but I will walk the run. I'm still going to do it. It's for charity. Why not? It's for cancer. So I did. I should have known, Liz. Like, come on now. I am this competitive, like grew up an athlete. You really think I'm going to walk those runs? No. So I started running, very humbling because I hadn't run in so long. That first 1 miler that I did, I thought I was going to die. My first triathlon, though, was an Olympic distance. So it was about a half a mile swim, a 24-mile bike ride, and then a 6-mile run. So I thought that was just so much. I did it. It was great. Then I was hooked, and it was for charity. And I met amazing people. To this day, some of my very best friends I met on that first team. I did it with Team in Training, and they raised money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So it was an honor. I kept on, and it's contagious. It's like you drink the Kool-Aid. Well, then my friends were like, let's do a half Ironman. I was like, no way, 70.3 miles. There is no way. Don't ever say no way, because that means you're going to do it, which I did. Did a couple of those. Then my teammates started saying, we're going to do a full Ironman. And I said, you guys are insane. There is no way that this body and my knee that I wasn't supposed to be running on in the first place is going to carry me through an Ironman. Liz, I signed up for an Ironman. I did that Ironman. And it was just such a life-changing experience, the discipline that's required. And, when you're a part of a team, because triathlon is an individual sport, but I'm a team girl, and doing it with a team was raising money for cancer. It was just so inspiring. And then we met people that we were actually physically raising money for that are fighting cancer. You can't not get out of bed when somebody else doesn't have the opportunity. When I was getting up early morning to get my workout in before work, it was hard some mornings. But the second I remembered that there are some people that don't have a choice that would love to get out of bed to do what you're doing, it never failed. I was out in training. Sadly, my last triathlon came due to tragedy. One of my teammates who lost her dad, ironically, the night before our big Ironman, she didn't get to race with us that day. And so she continued on her journey. And so I said, I'll be there with you, girl. Like, we're going to do this. And we rallied, and we ended up finding her a slot to another Ironman event in November. So our first one was in August. She was to race in November. I was actually on USO Tour with Alex in Europe. And we found out that she was in a bike accident, and tragically we lost her. She never got to finish that race. And we had a joke that we were going to go to Kona together, which is the world championship, which is where the elite premier triathlons, it's the world stage of triathlon. We knew we were not that material, but we joked about it, that we were someday going to go to Hawaii together. Well, it really struck me when I found out the race the following year fell on the anniversary of her death. And so I also found out that they were doing something called Kona Inspired, which was an opportunity for regular people like me to share an inspiring story of why they needed to race in Kona that year. So I decided to do it in memory of her. And my team rallied. We have such a talented team. We had cameramen, we had producers, we even had music writers, editors. We created a film and submitted. And with people's help from all over the country, even the world, voting every day for us to be a part of this program, we earned a slot into Kona. And so I raced in Kona that year for her on the anniversary of her death. And I think that was such a healing experience for so many of her friends and teammates to be able to come together and do something in her honor. We raised over $60,000. It was just an incredible, life-changing experience. And as I mentioned, anything is possible is my mantra for life. It is the Ironman mantra for this reason, for better, for worse. We lost her in a split second. And I learned anything is possible. You've got to live for every day. Then, from landing a job with Jeopardy through a nationwide search to becoming, an Ironman triathlete a second time on the world stage in memory of, someone who we earned in a contest that was up to the public. It was all so unbelievable and incredible. I just know that now anything is possible. Like if you want it, that's one thing I'll tell everyone and anyone. If you want it, just try, because you never know. So much of the stuff that's happened to me in my life has happened because I don't know why it happened, because anything is possible, I guess. Like I tried and I thought, well, it's okay if it doesn't happen. At least I tried, right? And then look what happens, right? Just like me running teleprompter for Idina Menzel. And now here I am with the USO again. I didn't know how to do teleprompter. Don't tell her that, but we got through it. Like she didn't know the day. So that's good. We got through it. Now she can know. I didn't know what I was doing.
I watched that special. You did great because nobody missed their lines or anything. That's amazing. Kelly, I've never had goosebumps so much while talking with somebody over the computer. This is amazing. Your story is inspiring. And I have like all the feels, and I'm watching some chatter come up. Everybody's feeling it. We're holding back tears. We've all got goosebumps. This is amazing. You really are amazing. And you're right. Anything is possible. And your life is sort of showing that to everybody. I want to take a minute and check in with Danielle. Are we missing anything in the chat box? Are there any questions so far for Kelly?
No questions, Liz. You hit the nail on the head. Everyone is just really inspired by you, Kelly.
Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to stick with the upbeat questions, Kelly. You mentioned a little something to us right before we went live today about an upcoming USO MVP interview that you're doing on a very special day. Can you tell us about that real quick?
Yeah, so I'm doing a few actually coming up. So tomorrow I'm doing one with Chris Lane. And then I think coming up after that, I get to meet with Paris Hilton on my birthday, y'all. So on July 27th, we're doing a little MVP series with Paris Hilton, which is very exciting. My family is very excited. We're actually going to be on vacation, you guys. But I told Brooke when she was scheduled, I'm like, girl, I am always available for the USO, vacation or not. So I will be coming to you live from Hawaii, people, with Paris Hilton. So come and join us. It'll be a ton of fun.
I love that. Yeah. If everybody joining live today wants to sign up for Paris or Chris Lane tomorrow,
yes,
or for Paris Hilton on the 27th, uso.org/MVP has all the links to register for those. We love it. It's basically USO Tours brought straight to you on your phone, on your laptop, on your iPad, wherever you are. You get to partake in a USO tour. There's a chance to ask live questions. It's just an amazing virtual experience. And oh my gosh, Kelly, I'm so excited. I've already signed up for Paris Hilton.
Yay!
I hear that she's going to be talking about a cooking show she has coming up. Yes. And I feel like so many of us have grown up with Paris Hilton. Right? We cannot miss this. It's going to be awesome.
I mean, who knew? She's like super talented and such a smart businesswoman. So I can't wait to talk to her and really, hear about all the stuff that she's been cooking up. This no pun intended.
Yeah. Or maybe it was, I don't know. So Kelly, when people registered for today, we had them type in questions that they would want to ask you. So I've got a list of questions from those who are tuned in today that I'm going to go ahead and fire off at you. Okay. Number one, what is your favorite me time activity if you have time for it?
It's a rare occasion, I will tell you that, but I am getting better at trying to create it, carve it out for myself. So ever since becoming a triathlete, I grew up an athlete, as you said, that sweat time for me, that active time to get the energy out, to get moving somehow, is really something that helps my sanity. So like yesterday, for example, my son, you guys, he was up for 3 hours. We won't talk about that, but it meant that he was sleeping in a little bit longer. So I'm like, you know what? I think I have 15 minutes. I got a 15-minute, hardcore workout in. I got the sweat on. I was so happy, proud of myself. And on the days where my husband isn't working in the morning, I will sneak out, take my big one to school, and then I'll sneak over to the pool and do a little swim. The pool is my happy place. The ocean is really my happy place to be able to swim. So I think that is probably my go-to me time. But I'll tell you what, I love also just taking the boys for a walk, which I think is a double dose of, getting to hang out with my littles, but also getting a little sweat in as well. Cause I carry my 20-pound baby on me, and that's a workout, right?
That's good.
But I'm
like
trying
that.
to get better at it. It's important to carve out that time, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Next question. Do you have a favorite Netflix binge?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. So I'll tell you what, going along with the no free time, I am notorious for, I've never seen that. Everyone makes fun of me. They're like, Kelly, you've never seen that? No, I've never seen it. You guys, when am I supposed to watch movies and TV? When am I? But I'll tell you what, Liz, I did. And I'm so proud of myself. After having Kauai, when I was doing the, middle of the night feedings, I took my little phone. I got the Netflix app on my phone and I watched Cobra Kai. All the episodes, you guys. Because I grew up, in the 80s, and I watched The Karate Kid. I was a big fan, and I'm like, I want to watch this show. And I heard that it was so bad, so good. And everybody I know just loved it for that reason. So I was so excited that I got to watch them all. I was so sad when it was over. But I'll tell you what, it was right around the time when Kauai started getting a little more active. So probably good time. But I'll tell you what, my first USO training event for MVP series, I got to sit behind the scenes when Cobra Kai came and did the USO MVP series. I was so excited. I was behind the scenes learning, but also secretly totally fangirling. Also.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All those people. Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Did you see the one that they filmed in Okinawa? They filmed a couple of them there.
Yes.
Amazing.
So cool. And oh my gosh, it was like, wow. And I love the way they did the flashback to the film of how they, so cool. Yes.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. They said it was storming, and they were talking about how in the USO MVP one, you guys watch it if you haven't already. It's really great. They're talking about how there was a huge storm, and, at certain points there was like crazy wind, and they were trying to get the film, but when you watch it, you don't really notice. But they were kind of giving us the inside tidbits. It was pretty cool.
I love that. I think that's one of the funnest parts about these MVP events. And we are not intended to turn into a commercial for this, but having watched so many, it's so fun to get the behind the scenes scoop from people who are joining us as MVP guests. And that's one of the most special parts about it. I love it.
Totally. We always like the behind the scenes secret stuff.
All right. You have told us about so much that you've accomplished in your life. What do you believe is your best accomplishment to date?
Wow. I hate to sound like a cliche going back, but I think anyone who has kids will be able to relate. Becoming a mom, it is legitimately the hardest, most challenging job. And also one that you don't ever feel prepared for, because nobody teaches you really. I mean, I have the best role model ever in my own parents, for sure. But you never feel qualified. There's no class to take. But my kids are doing great. And whenever they do something or say something sweet, it's like, wow, okay, I must be doing something all right. And, that to me is really remarkable, just to look at them. Like, I still look at them and I'm like, wow, like, I'm your mom. That is crazy. I'm a mom. What? When did that happen? How did that happen? You know what I mean? And I think no matter how big they get, you probably always still have those moments. But, I am not going to say this is a future goal of having another, because I'm going to stick with two, guys. As I mentioned, I've got that upcoming surgery. It's going to make it not possible, but I'm okay with that. Two is our goal, and I'm good. And anyone who has more than two, you are a superhero and a half. All parents are superheroes, but anyone with more than two, I mean, kudos to you. But I definitely think parenting has been the biggest challenge, most rewarding challenge, and definitely my proudest accomplishment. Still going. Accomplishment in progress.
Absolutely. Somebody wanted to know, how do you master the work-life balance while working towards your passion?
Still going. I don't know if I have become a master, only because I think masters maybe aren't as tired as I am. But no, I really think that finding what you love is key, because it's a lot easier to be tired and to be busy and to be at moments overwhelmed, but when you're doing the things that you love. And I really do love the things that I do. And I think that if I have a passion for it, everything else just comes. And, there are moments where you're like, whoa, 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 I'm doing all this crazy stuff. But then there are moments where like, wow, I'm doing all this stuff. And I think that makes us human. That's okay. You know what I mean? We take it as we just kind of roll with it. And that's what I have to go with. I just roll with it. I mean, being a host and being in this world of entertainment, I am also constantly auditioning. And sometimes those auditions come in and they've got to be in at the last minute. And sometimes I don't even know how I'm going to do it. And sometimes we always manage, to get it in. And sometimes it's a family audition. I'm like, oh no, now's not a good time. Kids haven't had their naps. I got to feed the baby. My husband's getting home from work. I've got to go to work. It's not, but sometimes you just say, you know what, take a deep breath, do what you can do. And if you can't, that's okay too, right? Give yourself a break. So that's what I try to remember when I'm trying to still master. And I think it's going to take a lifetime, is give yourself a break, take everything in stride, roll with it, and try to do what you love, because that is really what's going to inspire you and keeping you going with that energy, right? It's not as exhausting when you're loving doing it. And it gives you that little adrenaline rush as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, along those same lines with doing everything that you do, one of our viewers wants to know if you have an app or a program or a calendar, some sort of item that has become integral in your day-to-day to help manage your day-to-day life.
Yeah. So it's funny. I am a total paper person. So I still have, I just put it away. I have a paper planner still, like a book. I think I'm the only one in the world. If you still have one, thank you. Oh, you do, Liz?
I do. I'm paper too. Yeah.
Everyone's like, Kelly, that is so old school. I'm like, I know, but I've got two now, you guys. So I have one written and I also have it in my phone. So I always have it with me. And I swear sometimes I'm wondering, does it take me longer to input everything? Or does it save me the time when I have it? I think it still saves me the time when I have it. And also now that I'm married, it's not just me, right? My husband's got to know what's going on. So we share a calendar now. It took us a long time. We've been together 10 years now. It's taken us a long time to get this down. We still don't have it perfected, but the calendar really keeps me, going. So I use my iPhone calendar. I use my paper planner to keep it going. Other than that, I love my apps now. And during COVID, I started using like the Peloton app, for example. You don't even have to have a Peloton bike. I don't have one, you guys. I just use it for the workouts because it's nice to have something at my disposal. It doesn't have to be Peloton, it can be anything. Because, when you're short on time, you've got to have something to go to, like something you love. And once you find it, just keep on, whatever works. I've got that for my meditations. I've got that for my workouts, something on my apps. They've been a lifesaver, really. And you always have your phone with you. So I probably spend way too much time on my phone, but I like to think for some of it, it's, for a better life as well, like those things. So
we all spend too much time on our phones,
right?
But as long as it's justified by the organization that we get from it, wonderful. As we were talking and as you were answering, I saw a bunch of stuff pop up in the chat. There's a lot of paper planner fans out there.
Oh, good.
I'm one. I think maybe it's just, we all grew up learning how to write things down.
Yes.
For me, I'm a total visual learner.
Me
so
too.
Writing it down helps, but I live and die by my Outlook calendar too, because if I don't get a notification that something's coming up.
Yes.
Help
100%.
me.
The notifications, absolutely. Yes. And the yes.
Yeah.
That, by the way, that just so the calendar people, they're already out for next year. I was at the store the other day and I was like, look at that. Because they start sometimes in the summer, right? When school ends and they start out. So you can go get your pretty calendar already. I was having a hard time choosing, so I'm going to wait because
I always do. Always do. That's like, why is that such a stressful decision, is picking out what you're going to look at every day for the next year?
I know. It's so
right?
true. It's got to be good.
The last question that we got ahead of time, it's a little bit heavier, but I feel like it's very, very pertinent to what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
How do you handle depression and motivating yourself with all of life's ups and downs? I mean, you've talked about some downs, you've talked about some ups.
Yeah.
How do you handle emotions with everything going on?
It's been funny. I've been told many times, people laugh at me because I'm known as I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I can do it. I'm very much the person who I can do it myself. I don't need help. I got this. But I'll tell you what cancer taught me. When we were going through this as a family, because it was my sister, my mom, then me, all consecutively, I learned how to accept help. And it doesn't make you weaker. I've learned that it actually helps make you stronger. And that's been a lesson that I'm still learning today. There's so many days where I'm like, I can do it myself. Even when I'm struggling, even when I'm barely keeping my head above water, even when I am drowning in stuff and I feel like I still somehow, there's like this pride thing. I don't know if it's a mom thing. I think I've always been that way actually in my life. I can do it myself. I got this. I don't need your help. I don't want to inconvenience anyone else. But this is the thing, you guys, the people who love you want to help you, and it makes them feel good too when they know they can partake and assist and help and support. So I've become a little bit better about accepting help, and that makes a huge difference. I'm very much a people person, a friend and family person. I do get energy from being around other people, but I've also discovered, especially during this quarantine time, that I was like starting to question my extroversion. I'm like, maybe I'm an introvert. There are those moments where I'm like, I don't need anyone. I got this. You know what I mean? But I think all of it is important, and it's a balance. And I think trying to find that balance is really important. And if you need the help, though, don't hesitate to ask. And if someone offers you the help, and even though you're denying it, take it. Take it. Because then you're like, oh, wow, I guess I really did need that. And that has really helped me survive. That has helped me get through my days. And, right now, my baby, we don't have daycare yet. He wasn't accepted to school until October. Thank goodness. I am so lucky. I know how lucky I am, you guys, to have family around. My parents help. There are still the moments where I'm like, I can't ask them because they've been working all week for us. Like, I can't. But at the same time, they see me stressing out, and then they're like, Kelly, just, it's okay. Let us help. Thank goodness they're retired and so willing, and they're able, and it's a beautiful thing. And I know how fortunate I am, and that has saved me time and time again. But if you have someone to help you and they're willing, offer it. Just in their offering, take it. Whether it's from afar or close up, go for it. And if you don't, then that's okay. Take the time for yourself to help yourself, whether it's taking a silent moment to meditate or just lie down for a second, or, trying to realize maybe I need to work out to get this stress. Maybe I need to go punch a bag or something, or maybe I need to just go to sleep. I need to be better about that too. Like, just rest. If you're tired, sometimes the body just needs that. Do you know what I mean? Just rest, listen to your body, respect yourself, and be kind to yourself. I know I put a ton of pressure on myself all the time. And I think a lot of people do put a lot of pressure on themselves to get things done, or to be in a certain place, or to finish something. You know what? Be kind to yourself. Do the best that you can. That's all we can do, especially right now, you guys. We all can relate to this. None of us maybe feel like this is the best time or that we all have been super efficient. It's been a weird time, but the whole world literally is going through this together. So just remember to do your best. That's all you can do. And your best is good enough. It totally is good enough. It is.
Kelly, I feel like when you're finished with your documentary, you need to write a book, because there's like two major takeaways from today from talking with you. Number one, anything is possible. And number two, accept the help. And I feel like if you just take those two and run with it, anything is possible, and you're proving it. I saw Yvette posted in the chat. She said, Kelly, you sound just like a military spouse. So many of us, we have that independent streak. I can take care of it. You just take care of yourself because you know that your spouse is going to have to go sometimes, or you take care of it because you don't know anyone around you. It's hard for us to accept help sometimes.
Totally.
And that's exactly what we need to be doing. And if we can't accept it, maybe we can offer it. And I love that popped up in the chat. You are relating to us on a level that we thought nobody outside of military spouse community could really relate. So anything
I'm so glad. Yeah. And I have so much respect for the military spouses, because I know there's an extra layer on top of that. Actually, my best friend is a military spouse, and there were so many times where her husband is away, and I did my best to help and support, but it's hard. I can only imagine. And I have so much respect and admiration, because you're right. You guys go into that mode of like survival. I got to do this. I don't have a choice. And it's incredible, because that is just so impressive in itself, because it just says how strong you are, first of all, and how resilient you are. And I just have so much respect for that. So keep on keeping on, because you guys are amazing and have so much respect and love. And even things like this, like taking the time to, do this, and what the USO does is so remarkable, to support. And so take it and then whatever way it comes, whether it's a cup of coffee and a 5-minute quiet time, or, a chat with a friend on the phone, like it doesn't matter what it is. If it makes your heart happy, then take care of yourself, everyone.
We're going to hire you as a spokesperson to tell everybody to go into the USO, to take a minute to have a cup of coffee, whether you're going through an airport, whether you're on a base, whether you're out in town and there's a USO center. Go in there. You're going to find a safe and quiet and peaceful place to have a moment.
100%. Yes. I love that. That's so great. Yes. And what the USO does and how it's available all over is so remarkable. It's so cool. It's such an honor to be part of this program. Honestly, I can't even tell you, really. Thank you. And to all the military families out there, have so much respect for you. And I thank you so much for your service and for your sacrifice as well. So thank you guys
Oh,
so much.
thank you for
There's
that.
really no
like
proper words.
Nicole just popped up in the chat. She said, thank you for this mommy time break. She took this hour as a mommy break that she needed. And I so get that. We all need it. So I do see that we have a question in the Q&A box. Danielle, what's in there?
Yeah, someone wants to hear a little more about your travel, Kelly. What's your favorite place you've traveled to, either personally or for work, any reason, but tell us more.
Yeah. Okay. So I, with Jeopardy, got the chance to travel all over the world, delivering the video clues and also with the USO. So I've hit, I can't even tell you how many countries, I don't know, but I have hit all 50 states now, you guys, and 6 of the 7 continents. I still got to get to Antarctica. It's on my list of places to go. But I will tell you what, and I'm not just saying this, you guys, some of my favorite places have been with the USO. One of them was Japan. And the reason for that goes back, I think I told you I am Japanese by heritage. So that particular trip was special for me because it hit me on a personal level. I had the opportunity to be introduced to the USO, to meet so many military service members. That changed my life. And then to be in a country that was so beautiful and so accepting that I had never been to, yet my heritage belonged there. That was remarkable. And the culture there is just so incredible. Not to mention the food, you guys. I love the food there too. I'm a foodie. So wherever I go, I want to try the food. And so that was pretty incredible. Another place that I had a chance to go was the Galapagos Islands. I actually went with Alex Trebek as well. It was our 25th anniversary season, and 25 viewers and their guests won a trip to the Galapagos with Alex. How cool is that? And so Alex was kind enough to bring me along. And the coolest part about that too was my family, my parents came on that trip. Also, they were paying guests, of course, on the trip, but it was just such an incredible trip to share with true Jeopardy fans, with Alex Trebek himself, and with my parents, who I grew up a Jeopardy fan. My mom's favorite show was Jeopardy all her life. So it was kind of crazy to be in that element, to see the world and nature in the way that it should be. It was pristine. It was like before humans. It was like taking a step back in time, you guys. Like, wow, the animals weren't afraid of humans because they had no reason to be. They don't understand that, humans are a threat because they live in this environment that humans aren't a threat. It was just some of the islands that we went to were the newest in the world. It's still black volcanic rock. And, you're walking around, you literally have to step over the sea lions. You have to step over the marine iguanas to make sure you don't step on them. The birds will land on you, will land on your bags. It's incredible because they don't know to be afraid of humans. You're just another part of their, nature, their nature walk or whatever, that was really, really, really life-changing for me to be able to see that. And I've sort of become sort of an eco-environmentalist person. And that was one of the reasons. It was a really beautiful experience. So many places, you guys, but one of them, I will say, Africa. I went on safari in South Africa, got to witness a herd of, is it herd? What do they call elephants when they're in a pack? You guys, don't tell Jeopardy. I can't remember what we call it.
I bet there's a fancy word for it, but I would have said herd.
I can't remember what it was. I think it's herd, but elephants at a watering hole, baby elephants that were just like a month old. It was incredible. Came upon a pride of lions with their cubs. Just, again, beautiful. Most of my favorite places I've been, not in addition to food, you guys, and culture, of course, and the people, was nature and animals and seeing, nature the way it should be. And it was just so incredible. If you ever have a chance to travel, no matter where it is, I've been to the smallest towns in the US that I hadn't even heard of. That was like such a cool experience. You know what I mean? Just because the people have their own perspective and you get to meet so many people, learn so many things. And one thing I will say, whether you're traveling near or far, one thing I've learned is talk to the people. You can learn so much from someone else and their walks of life that are different from yours. And it's so much fun. Also, if they're speaking a different language, still talk to them. It's so much fun. And it's so incredible what you can learn and what you can communicate with someone, even when you're speaking a different language. And it's a lot of fun. You can always learn something, right? I've had some of my funniest conversations with people who did not speak English, trying to communicate and comparing. If you're in another country, you guys, ask them what their animal noises are. It'll keep you entertained for hours. Like you'll say, you know, oink oink is a pig in the United States, right? Well, for example, in Japan, pigs say boo boo. So we literally, this is on a USO tour, you guys. We sat around a table in Japan comparing animal noises because it was hilarious. It was just so much fun. So just talk to people. You never know, you know, what's going to be entertaining and what you might learn from somebody else and even their travels and where you might need to go next, right?
That's amazing. I was just thinking, I've lived in Japan twice and I've lived in Germany once, and I never ever thought to ask about animal noises. And now I need to go back and do that. I'm also adding the Galapagos to my bucket list for travel. That sounds amazing.
Too. Yeah, it was just an incredible place for sure. If you're a nature, water, earth, animal person, it's a must.
It checks all the buckets, huh?
Yes, it does.
Oh my goodness. Kelly, we are coming up on an hour and I don't see that there's any other questions in the Q&A box. Out of respect for everyone's time, we're going to wrap, but I feel like we could sit and talk all day long. So if people want to keep up with what you're doing, I know you mentioned your social handles before. Remind us all where we can follow what you're doing and find out what you're doing next.
Yes, I'm probably most active on Instagram. So I'm at Kelly Miyahara. It's just my name, KELLY. Miyahara. I will keep you posted on the film and all of the progress there. I do have a mini documentary piece. There's a longer documentary attached to it, but we are actually finishing production this week. It's about sunscreens. I'm very passionate about it. Here's a little tidbit, you guys. Use mineral sunscreens. Don't use the chemical stuff. I've done a lot of research. It's not safe for our environment. It's not safe for your children. It's not safe for you. You know, that's funny. There's in the news recently, there was some stuff about sunscreen. It's unrelated, but related. Either way, it's coming out soon. So I will share that on my social as well. But I just want people to take care of themselves, be informed, keep staying aware, and share your own stories as well. I'm doing my best to try and share mine to help other people as well if I can. But it's been such a pleasure being here. Thank you so much, Liz. Thanks to the USO team for inviting me. Really
Kelly, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate your time. We love your stories. We love your life advice. I think we all want to be like you. And we are excited to tune in tomorrow when you're hosting with Chris Lane and next week when you're hosting with Paris Hilton. And we're excited to keep on following you with your USO journey through the MVP program. So thank you so much for being with us today, Kelly.